Marhaba, Jambo, Haye, Salam, and welcome. My name is Audrey, and this is...
Mulisa.
And
Pwint.
Welcome to Resett TV Talk. Today's episode is all about Mangare Refugee Resettlement Sector, its benefits, its challenges, and so much more, all in hopes of bettering the resettled community's well-being. But Mulisa, Pwint, how are you both?
We're good.
You doing
Yeah,
good? Sure? That took a while. Are you guys sure you're okay? I'm so excited. This is a conversation a little bit outside of my comfort zone, which is great. That's where you want to be. But before we get into the different experiences, the different commonalities, and what both your roles actually offer to our wider community, introduce yourselves. What were you both like when you were younger? What was life back home for both of you? And what is it like now living in New Zealand?
Melissa, you can
Okay.
start.
My name is Mulisa, as I said already. I was born and grown up in Ethiopia, one of the East African countries. I moved to New Zealand when I was 27.
Yeah.
It's 2015. I came New Zealand as a refugee under quota program. I stayed in Mangere for 5 weeks and then resettled in Auckland.
Yeah.
Now I'm working at Mangare Refugee Center, where I came as a refugee first time. I'm working as a facility assistant, supporting new arrivals with different services.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is pretty much about my life. But if I go in details, back home I was born within a large family.
Nice.
I have about, we have extended family in Africa, as you may know. And I have 10 siblings, and I'm number 9.
Wow.
And I grew up with a family whose livelihood was farming in rural area.
Very agricultural.
Yeah, so I grew up supporting my family in farms, and also from really very early age, from 7 or 6, I used to support my family by looking after the cows and also doing in the farming. So what I miss about my home country right now is about the landscape, all the companies, friends, and
the coffee, dancing.
Definitely,
Yeah.
This is my early life. And then when I grow up, I finished my primary school, then high school, and I went to uni. I went to Addis Ababa University, and then family have a lot of influence on me, because I remember when I went for choosing what to study at uni, my brother forced me to choose, kind of like forcing to study social science. So my first choice was political science.
Nice.
Then I graduated from Addis Ababa University in 2009. That's quite a long time. And then after I finished uni, I tried to find a job and couldn't find one, because back home, because of the economic situation and the discrimination against my own ethnic group, I couldn't find any job. So I had to move to another country in search of better life.
Yeah.
So I went to Egypt. Then in Egypt, luckily I found a job, and I work for one of the humanitarian organizations. So I kickstart my profession as humanitarian worker. That is what I'm doing right now as well.
Yeah.
So I work with Médecins Sans Frontières for 3 years when I was a refugee overseas in Egypt. My work was a health promoter. I studied political science. I did in health area, health promotion, but anyway, the skill are always transferable. Then when I came to New Zealand, I just changed my profession to health promotion. I studied Bachelor of Health Promotion at AUT. I joined AUT in 2015 and graduated with Bachelor of Health Promotion from AUT in 2018. Then moved on. I did my master's in public health, which I was graduated in 2021. And then now I'm working in the area of more social, which goes back to my previous study, political science. Yeah.
That's amazing. Quite a journey, quite a track list.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
But I love how in all things it was always related to people, and that your passion and your love for people was always satisfied and communicated. But what about you, Pwint? You grew up in a completely different
Yes,
place.
that's
and
what I'm gonna say.
kind of different. Like you studied education, but now you work in a completely different field. And so for you, what was it like growing up? Who was Pwint when she was younger?
Yeah.
All those incredible things.
Yes. So when I was listening to Mulisa, and I was like, like our lives are quite different in a way that, for example, I only have one sibling.
Wow.
Yeah, you grew up with 9 others.
Yeah. That's like my mom. My mom's the 10th child. And so I feel like that's why I didn't go. I was like, yep, no more. Average size.
So I have one younger sister.
Yeah.
And then I grew up in a city. So my parents are I'm originally from Myanmar.
Yeah.
And my parents are still in Myanmar, and also my sister and her family still there. So I came here in 2012 to do my master in education, like you said. Yes, my bachelor was also a master. One thing common, the same as you, is I graduated in 2009 as well from uni, and then also I came here because I got a scholarship from New Zealand government. Give scholarships to ASEAN countries. So one of my country is one of the ASEAN countries.
Wow.
So 3 of us came here. We are kind of the first batch. Now a lot of people are coming. I think every year now it's like 20 to 30 people, the scholarship recipients.
Wow.
And coming in. And so I studied for 2 years. After I finished in 2014, I went back to Myanmar, home, and work there. I work in the education field, like teacher, trainer, but in the community. And so I work in the community. I train the community teachers. So basically from like faith-based schools, monastery schools. Those are the places that the teachers, they get the support from, like UNICEF, where we can train those teachers, both sides in education, and also I'm not very much, stranger to the community. And then after, when I came here, my first job would be assistant teacher at the English Language Partners. And I really enjoy it, working with those from forced migrant background. Adult teaching, I enjoy it a lot. And then I started at ARCC as a community navigator. And 1 year later, I became a community support coordinator, and this is my 3rd year, and I'm now an operations manager.
That's so cool. I think it's really cool to hear, because my parents also migrated to New Zealand, not through a synonymous situation, but similar enough. And I think sometimes, because all I know about them is their life in New Zealand, it's so hard to ever imagine and remember that there was a whole other, like, they were people before they were parents, and before I came along, they were certainly living very incredible, very cool and interesting lifestyle. So thank you so much for sharing. I think it's amazing if we get to humanize the different people who operate and serve our community, and also remember that they too are living lives way before the roles and the jobs. And so for both of you, before we even move on, where does that passion to serve and to help and to go back to a place like Mangare's Refugee Resettlement Sector and be like, actually, I want to give back and I want to use these skills and these talents and this education that I have to serve my community? Where did that kind of come from? Either of you can go first.
Yeah, I mean, like like I've said, I really do love to work with the community, even like back home. Myanmar, it's not very developing country. We have lots of needs, and especially in the community, they need a lot of support that, educating or social cohesion, different kind of things that needs to also like livelihood, teaching them how they can do their livelihood.
Yeah.
So it's very much part of it. And then I grew up in a church, so it's like a community as well. We have different people from different backgrounds, I would say, even though we all are from Myanmar. That's also like I really do have that sense. And then one of my personal beliefs is that, I mean, of course we work because we want to earn money, right? But at the same time, like, I want to have impacts on other people's lives. It's the job that is meaningful, like giving out or helping other people, and that's the joy that you get, beside money, or, you have helped someone, and then if that's, that someone's lives get better or, thing gets solved, then that's the joy that, I don't know, I really honor, appreciate,
Incredible.
And that's why before I work at ARCC, I also work as interpreter at the Mangare Refugee Resettlement Sector. I work there also because, when they arrive in New Zealand, the language is one of the big barriers that they have. So that's how I could help them, to understand, and when they are trying to settle in this new country, everything is new for them, right? So that's why I ended up working as an interpreter as well at the refugee.
That's amazing. That's really cool. I love that. And what about yourself, Mulisa?
Yes, that's a good question. I would say the passion to work to serve the community really build up early in life. Imagine growing up in extended family with 10 siblings, and so this self is a community itself.
Yeah, thanks.
So and also as Pwint already said, we as African society, as most of the third world country, we are a community of believer. We believe in a religion we have devoted. So religion is one of the communities, one of the aspects of community. So when I brought up as a young back home, also I do go to church. I'm a Christian, and my family are Christian and very devoted Christian. So always believers, Christianity is encourage what we call the community. So getting back to that community is one way of like a good thing you can do to in a communal life. So I would say the value such as religious value is one of the things that push a sense of community, on getting back to that community. And also if you see educational background, when you study public health or even political science, it's mostly like put forward serving of those communities, like a communal values, the value we give to the community, serving the communities at the center of those careers. So this is a combination of value, personal value, communal value, as well as religious, and also serving the communities part of my educational background as well.
Yeah. That's amazing. I love where your values draw from. It's quite similar to mine as well. And I think it's awesome how you touched on, yes, we can earn, yes, we can receive in a materialistic sense, but it's the heart and the way we impact that. This is why we do it. I think it's really encouraging for people to learn and know that the people who are serving them do it from a genuine place. So thank you both for opening up about your backgrounds and your lifestyles. We're going to go to a little break, and in part 2, we'll break down both of your roles. Hello, welcome back from our little break. In this part of our episode, I want to break down the positive aspects and the common challenges you both face in your roles, because I can only imagine reintegrating people, making people feel safe, making people feel like, hey, this is your home too, and allowing them to actually feel a part of a community in a society that is so unfamiliar and looks nothing like what it's like back home. And I know you and myself as well have been through Mangare's Refugee Resettlement Sector. But now in your role, Mulisa, what have you found to be a common challenge within people in this center?
Yeah, the common challenge for people and myself when I was because I came as an adult, I would say there are so many common challenges. Living in the camp, you can imagine like there is a restriction on your freedom.
Yeah.
Restriction, for example, freedom of movement.
Yeah.
People are not allowed to move as they want. They can go, like they have limited time. So some people come to me and ask to go outside after hours to enjoy their life, but you have to restrict them. This is one of the aspects, like living in the camp, even though it is onshore camp. People who live in Mangare Refugee Center now, they are residents, they have all rights, but technically they are in the prison as their freedom of movement is restricted. This is one of the challenge. And the other challenge could be people, when they come here, New Zealand is, in fact, it's a beautiful country, but they have most of the new residents arrive with really high expectation about this country. They've been only told on orientation more about what they can do and all their rights, not their responsibilities. Well, so this creates what we call unrealistic expectation, which is hard to manage. Yes, this is the two main challenges I can see in this role. And also, because of this unrealistic expectation and the too many people are high demand. There are people who demands really high in different social service. It's really stressful. Sometimes the job can be stressful. Although it is your own community and you're getting back to them, there is a point when you feel like you are overwhelmed with the demand and they ask a lot of questions. They need a lot of help that you cannot provide. So the good thing about working there is just you can refer to different agencies, but they come back to you because other service provider on site, they might not address their issue as well. So at a point, it could be really stressful. So these are the three main challenges I can put forward in my role now.
It is one of those like double-edged swords, because in order to allow someone to reintegrate, you do need to have things in place that actually allow them to feel and learn and reestablish themselves and then reintegrate to a society. Because there are so many unspoken things that are considered cultural and considered environmental to New Zealand that you may just not know. A fresh, arrival, but of course I can also understand the other end is like, oh my gosh, I'm in a new place, let's go. It's like when you go to university and it's like, oh my gosh, this place is massive, and you just want to explore the entire thing. And so I feel like that's actually really hard to balance, because you want people to feel humane. If anything, the life they were living made them the most, made them feel like they had no humanity and had no value. And so we want people to feel like they are worth something, and they have that in here. So that's so interesting. Thank you for opening up about that. And so for you, Pwint, now as an operations manager, how have you found it to be challenging, and how have you found it to actually have some really positive aspects as well?
So, like I've said, I did not go through Mangare Refugee Resettlement Center, but I do come across with a lot of community members who have cases that related to, Mangare Resettlement Center, or when we have a new resident magazine interviews, how we ask about their experience. So I've heard a lot of experience. And then before, when the resettlement center it's rebuilt, the old one, I've been to that one as well, because at that time the movement, what you have said, Mulisa, the freedom, I think it's more. I have been there a couple of times with my church group, because they allow us to come and bring our food, because most of my church community also came through a refugee quota program, and they have connection with the those in Malaysia or Thailand camp, and that they know, they have information that, this family is coming, to the camp from Thailand and from Malaysia. Then we have connection, and at that time we actually could go and make connection even inside Mangare Center, so they don't feel alone. They don't feel like, I don't know anyone in New Zealand, what do I do, or something. They feel like, I have a church community, so all of our church members could go and then, meet with them and, take them out. But now we are not allowed to do that anymore. But I think at least the good, positive aspect would be that they still could go out for the weekend if they have a family or friend who can take them, to stay in Auckland, then they could do that. But I think that's one of the challenge is that, a little bit disconnect with the community and those new arrivals. That's and then I think that's very important as well when they resettle in the, their resettlement locations, right? And then also another thing would be the challenge would be, language-wise, needing more of the interpreters on site. That even like in Myanmar, we have different ethnic language. Some people can't understand Myanmar. I can only speak Myanmar. I can't be the interpreter because they speak their own ethnic language. So providing that also, finding the interpreter also, we have a shortage, and so that's also could be a challenge.
I feel like reintegrating society is like a first day at primary school, where like everybody kind of looks at you wide-eyed, and you feel prepared from your home learning, your early childcare or kindergarten, but nothing really prepares you for what it's like to live next door, and to go to the same park and to go into the same environment and facilities as people who don't really look like you.
If I could add on one thing that, the community, the cases that I've come across, before they have, at the center, they do have driving license tests, at least for the learners. They teach you, but now they don't teach you anymore. Is that right, Mulisa?
Yes.
So it's a little bit hard for, when they come out of the center, they don't know, where should I go and learn, like understand about this theory test. Sometimes like they do have the people for Myanmar group, like there is a gentleman who has been always teaching in Myanmar language about road, rules and road codes and things like that. So it's very helpful for those who just arrive to learn about those in own language, and also to be able to have at least a learner license, so that they can go out and then they can practice and get restricted for license later. But that part has been not there anymore, and then the community members seem to have a bit of struggles.
So it sounds like the biggest challenge is just everyday life and the mundaneness of it, and re-implementing those things that allow people to be independent. Because when you leave a place like that and you come into a community, the most difficult thing to be is dependent on either the person who helped you facilitate your new life, or the person that allowed you to be connected, and help with the community navigation aspect of it. And so what are some of the things that if you were to sit down, let's say I'm coming to you, I'm going, Mulisa, Pwint, I'm struggling. I've left this center and I don't know where to start. What are some really cool key points that you would be like, all right, Audrey, this is where you're going to begin. This is how to do it. This is how to set up an independent, good life for yourself.
Before I answer that question, I want to add some more point about the good point about living in this camp or working there, even for the people who are hosted there, for refugees staying there 5 weeks. If they use it, it can also have some benefits. The benefits could be like this is a transition time for them. So they have a lot of orientation and induction about the culture of this country. So if they make use of that, they can easily thrive in New Zealand life. And also another good point is people make a good company there. They meet a lot of different multicultural people from different countries. So this is the reality of New Zealand. In New Zealand is a multicultural country. So they start to expose to different culture, which is useful in their future integration journey. Those are the positive point, having the camp on shore as well. We're lucky another country has no onshore transitional place where they can learn the culture and language and way of life. This is a positive point. For your question, for the people to make a better life in these countries, they really need to use the information given there seriously, because the induction process, the orientation, before it's used to be like there is a continuity with orientation after they leave Mangare Refugee Center, before they resettle fully in the community. They have like 5 times orientation by Red Cross. I'm not sure if they are doing right now. Those information are really important for them. If they make use of them, they can make their life easy in this country. There is sometimes misinformation, and of course there is high expectation, but it's very important to link up with other community members, to socialize, to use other agencies, which is like ARCC. ARCC really help a lot of refugee background people who came here and struggle to link up with their own community. Myself, I use ARCC to explore where my community members live and where they stay. And through ARCC, I could find the connection. Connection is one point which help you to find a job, and also it helps you to don't feel alone in this country. Many people feel lonely, homesick, and they just become really passive. But from the beginning, if they start to link up themselves and connect with others, they easily can thrive in this country. They can make the life they wish to. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Amazing. And for you, Pwint, from your position, from where you are, how would you advise someone who comes to go, hey, I'm really struggling. The camp was huge, and it was a big benefit, and I'm so blessed. But now what? Now what do I do after these 5 weeks?
So I think, like Melissa said, connection, networking is really important.
Yeah.
And that information can be given or linked already when they are in the center, so that when they go out, they know. So probably not just a normal service like, oh, you go to the bank if you need to get a card, but for those community issues that they will, of course, face, when they go to their resettlement locations, if they are given information that, okay, for example, ARCC help with, the people from forced migrant background, RAS New Zealand, it's with counseling, or Red Cross, the different service providers do different, they specialize in different areas, right? So if you are given all of those information, and probably it will be really good to, have a connection with the community organizations and the Mangare Center. I think that would help a lot in the transition from Mangare Resettlement Center to the resettlement location. And then, like you've said, there are positive aspects that, it's very informative that they get everything in that 5 weeks. And also, having set up their bank accounts, housing agreement signed, work and income benefits sorted. So those are really good, when things that are done in the center. So that it's all ready, and then to be settled. So, I think that's a positive aspect of.
Yeah, that's so amazing. I know that this is going to help somebody, or help somebody else. And so it's great that we've been able to go over the different common challenges and the positive aspects. We're going to go to a little ad break, and we'll see you guys in part 3.
See ya.
Guys, we have made it to our last section. Wow, what an episode. Thank you both so much for sitting down with me here at Resett TV Talk. I want this section to feel a little bit more lighthearted, and so much more about the incredible work you both do for the community. So what are some of your favorite memories? Do you have a story, a favorite part of the role that you have, that whenever it gets hard, you just think about this one moment to keep you guys going? Mulisa, do you want to kick us off?
Any funny story.
Yeah, any story that always keeps you going, and whenever it gets difficult, you remember that time and you go, you know what, this makes it all worth it. We can start with Pwint if you want.
Yeah.
Okay. Pwint, yalla, kick us off.
I would say, not solving, I'd rather use supporting, because we cannot solve all the problems, right? That's the truth, We try as much as we can to support the community members, but there are some, community cases after, they just get out from the Mangare Center. It might be only like a few months, and then they start facing, some challenges in real life, everyday life.
Yeah, kicks in.
Sometimes what happens is that in the center, they will be, the informations given are really good, but maybe sometimes it needs to be a bit harsh, I would say. A good things, because every places, Auckland, it's great, but you have to mention about the traffic. That's a part, that's a fact, right? Wellington is great. You have to mention about windy or, the weather.
Yeah.
So, that kind of, that side of information would be good as well sometimes, because when the community members are out, the new residents are out, and then people in the community tell them otherwise, they get confused,
Yeah.
Oh, I was told like this at the center, and then the community members are saying, oh, no, this is what we've been through is like this, or, the different kind of information that kind of confused. But that's where we, ARCC, play roles that when we support. So there are some difficult cases, I mean, we had to face, because when one person came, it's not just particular issue. There are underlying issues that we need to sort it out,
Yeah.
So when we get through bit by bit, for to dig into all the issues, underlying issues, then when there is an impact, or if we receive the result that we have, it's all worth it. That what we, the journey that we had to go through, or I think that's always there at the end. At least there is even if the issue is not solved, they feel supported. Oh, they feel like, oh, there is someone there, who listen to me, who support me, who I can talk to, and the smile that they, like the happiness or the joy that they have, even though if the problem is not solved, I think that's all at the end, it's worth it.
Yeah, for sure. Re-implementing people's humanity is probably one of the things that I'm getting from both of you that is so important. It's making sure these people are emotionally met, and they feel understood, and they feel acknowledged. And despite everything that's occurred up until this point, they have an opportunity to start over. And they can just blank slate it and go, you know what, I'm in this incredible place. What do I do with my life now? So for you, Mulisa, do you have a story? Do you have a moment? Do you have something that keeps you going and keeps you excited to come to the job every day?
Yeah, definitely. There is a motivation for me to wake up in the morning and go to work. Besides all the necessity thing I have to do to support my family and myself, this motivation, what I enjoy more working at the center right now, is that working at the front line, working as Pwint already mentioned, whenever you deal with the people at the front line, I know being there for working at the front line, I'm the first point of contact for those people who just came overseas here. So this is a kind of everything we do for them, something like as little as giving them, helping them to put a Wi-Fi password is really appreciated by them, and they really appreciate us for like helping them and supporting them on day-to-day their life on the camp. So this is the motivation that pushed me to go to work and keep going in this role. Yeah.
That's incredible. It has been my privilege and my honor to sit down with both of you and listen to the ways in which you can practically go into these places and actually allow people to set up a new world, a new home, and a new lifestyle for them. Is there any last things you guys would like to share, either about your experience in your role, what you would love people to know about Mangare's Refugee Resettlement Sector, or how better we can even help people who are resettling?
Yeah, I think we've touched base on how could we help the new residents. At the same time, I think for the Mangare Refugee Resettlement Center, if they include and work alongside with the community organizations like ARCC and other organizations which is in this resettlement sector, I think that would be really helpful, so because the transition from the refugee camps to Mangare Resettlement Center, and then Mangare Resettlement Center to the resettlement locations, it's very important. Those are the transitions. So, when you have after the Mangare Resettlement Center, you be like, oh, you're there,
Yeah,
find your own way.
Yeah,
Rather
yeah.
than that, like if the community organizations are out there in the community, in the resettlement location, so that's where they can have a connection, and if they can involve in from the beginning stage at the Mangare Resettlement Center, and then they can hand over and keep on supporting, because some you will find people. When you work, across some community members, it doesn't matter. I'm here only I just arrived last year. I need help. And some people, I arrived here 15 years ago. I need help. So it's good to have a strong connection. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that would be the my recommendation or suggestion. I don't know anything.
Yeah.
It could be done better in that way, including the community organizations in the Mangere Resettlement Center, connected from the beginning. I think that'd be really good.
And follow through. Yeah. What about yourself? Any last things you'd like to say?
I just want to add on what Pwint already said about the gaps in the service, especially with regard to the continuation of the service from Mangare Refugee Center to the resettlement location. The transition from refugee camp overseas to the center is really smooth until they finish their 5 weeks or 6 weeks. But after that, there is really a huge gap, and I think Immigration New Zealand has already acknowledged this problem, and they've hired someone in the community engagement. But this is not enough, as Pwint already mentioned. Needs to be really smooth transition from Mangere Center to the community locations where they are resettled. So this is really important, because it's helpful not only for the community who are resettled, but also for the government and the country itself, because the view that refugees are burden is not really realistic, because people come here with a big and huge dream to contribute, to help their own self, their families, even their families back home. For this to fulfill this dream, they need to work hard. And when they work hard, they pay taxes and they contribute to the economy of this country. So this needs to be really considered, and the service provider need to come together and make the resettlement integration and the transition from Mangare Refugee Center to the community easy and accessible for the people. Now, so many services are not even accessible. It's, for example, as before a Pwint mentioned, that that driving licensing is not given in the center. Now they outsource it to private organization, which is not accessible for most of the people who have limited language. They cannot find where this service is provided, for example, to get their license. So they need to rethink all these services, how these can be more accessible, how different service providers in the resettlement sector need to come together and collaborate in a real world.
Yeah, for sure. At the end of the day, this place does incredible things and definitely puts people at least 5 steps ahead than comparatively if we didn't have anything at all. But we hope that this episode has encouraged you to think, encouraged you to look outward towards those people who do look different to you in your community, and ask yourself, I wonder what it would be like if I was moved abruptly and against my will to try and reintegrate into a society where I didn't speak the language and I didn't know anything about anything. This has been Resett TV Talk. I've been Audrey. This has been
Mulisa.
And
Pwint.
take care, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
See ya.
Thanks.